All right, we are starting. It's 3 o'clock. Thank you everyone for joining in. Welcome back to another virtual shadowing session. Today is a very exciting session with Dr. Varun. Sir, we are ready when you are. The floor is yours.
All right, thanks. Very good afternoon to all of you. Guess afternoon sessions, that too on a Sunday is never the right time to give any talk. Most of us consider it a convenient time to sleep in our afternoon lectures, and some of us doze off no matter what time the lecture is. As the title of our topic suggests, happy hours. Just sit back and relax. Let's have a fun time. Are you all with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess only Ayushi is replying. Others?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Komal, thank you. Yeah, good.
Yes, sir.
So just like you guys, I was following few of the talks when I used to get time. It was all excellent talks by all the wonderful speakers you had so far. It's simply amazing concept when Arushi told me about this proposal. I was wondering what can I share with you guys that's going to help you. Then when I look back in life, I was also one among you. Of course, till I am. Just that fast forward a few years, that's all. So in this talk, just like all the earlier talks, pattern is almost the same about the journey, then my area of work, that's mostly cleft related, overview of the clinical works, and because of the shortage of time, I have tried to include few other home office works as well. Hope all this gets you inspired to take up surgical specialty, or at least try to be the best in life, whatever path you choose to be in. Hope you all doesn't get bored of or the inevitability of dozing off in between. You can stop me anytime and try waking up each other by asking anything. So feel free. Thanks once again for having me here. Thank you all for joining in large numbers. Once again, kudos to Arushi and team for this exciting concept and conducting it so well. Are you all still with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I don't hear
Yes, sir.
anything.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Thank you.
Yes.
I can understand the dilemma we all go through, no matter which year you are in, about the future as to what next, the dilemma of opening a clinic or to pursue the higher studies, of bringing up different scenarios at various stages in life. You just have to take everything in your stride and move forward. Do what you can with what you have got and where you are. It's always good to start somewhere and improve upon each day, be it preparing your exams, collect and arranging notes, revise them instead of struggling in the end. Or it can be improving your skills. You can be a master or an expert, but not in a day, but it takes years of struggle and obviously dedication and commitment. And all this won't happen without passion. And as you know, the journey of 1,000 miles begin with one step. And I know you are all already in that step and far ahead than me when I was your age. So, coming to the session about me, what can I say? Maybe I can call myself as a smile maker. And you might be wondering why, and why it is called as a smile maker. Because everyone creates smile. For me, why we call it a smile maker? Because, let's say, you may be wondering, I am giving more of advices and it is more easy to advise. No matter what all motivating things we hear and preach, most of us know how hard the reality is. But if I can reach where I am today because of the guidance and support of my mentors and above all God's grace, you all can definitely do much better. And the reason why I said we are called smile makers because we are creating smiles and on these children as well as the people around. And I consider it as a divine mission because God is working through your hands to make amends in these beautiful creations. Here you can see a unilateral complete cleft lip and palate. You can see what all deformities you are having. It's a complete cleft lip and palate. The nose is deformed and the columella is shifted to the opposite side. And this is a transformation you can get on table. See how the lip is recreated. The nose is almost similar to the God's creation. So that's why I call it as the divine mission. We are rectifying, say, maybe the errors which God left in situ. So this is where I work. This is Jubilee Mission Medical College, and I work in Charles Pinto Center of Cleft Lip and Palate Craniofacial Anomalies, Thrissur, Kerala. And if you know Thrissur, this is famous for Thrissur Puram, the festivities, the temples, and of course the scenic place. So do drop in once the things are back to normal. And the department was started by Dr. Edenwala, the pioneer who passed away last year, one of the pioneer cleft surgeon. And this was one of the first smile trained centers in the country. This is our team, as I'll be explaining to you about the multidisciplinary team approach in the management of clefts. And ours is a comprehensive unit with all concerned members. And about the journey. After all the battles with various entrance exams and fighting it out again for another year, leaving the attained engineering seat and thinking about life-changing opportunity that the medical professionals can do. Of course, in this era, someday that it's a myth, but keeping our hopes alive and moving forward and staying positive after another year with so-called vanavas, that is just after your 12th standard, we are always pursuing one entrance after another entrance. So it's kind of vanavas, you're cut away from the social life. I finally got into the Amara University in Cochin for my undergraduate. I didn't have much clue of dentistry, to be frank. But after all, the uncertainty of future, you're sort of relieved that you are now into something, even if it is unknown. But I was blessed to have wonderful faculties who could guide in the right direction. I'm still in contact with most of them. I really like what I was into it. It was a dream of making it big, loving what you do each day. And at that time, there wasn't any PG program in college. So you have all the individual attention and also the opportunity to do most of the things, especially in internship time. I'm not sure whether that is the current scenario in most of the colleges. Be it doing root canal, impactions, crown preparations, perio surgeries. I still cherish my UG intern logbook. I didn't take a single leave during my internship because all these things I found it more meaningful because these were the priorities to make it big. But after UG, though you have all the dreams and hopes, but somehow you are still handicapped. The dilemma as to what next again started creeping in. I started working in various clinics, preparing for the exams. It was a struggle. But all the struggles or all the failures or all the no or not yet from the Almighty will make more sense years later. And you will realize it is all for the good. I had by then narrowed down the area in which specialty I want to do my master's in. It was either orthodontics or maxillofacial. After 3 years of sort of work and entrance preparation, by God's grace, cracked the Kerala entrance and got in OMFS at PMS Dental College, Trivandrum. Again, destiny, I would say, it's OMFS at PMS. Under amazing faculties, always pushing you to achieve greatness. And with good mentoring and guidance, I was able to acquire second rank in final university exams. I was honored for Best Postgraduate Student of OMFS at the 8th International Students Congress, and also won the Best, Guidant Academic Excellence Awards for Best Postgraduate Student in Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery, Best PG Dissertation among all specialties in Kerala State, nominated for the FAMDENT Awards for Best PG Students. And it's always an honor to associate it with guide and mentor, the past president of American Academy of Implant Dentistry, Shankar Iyer. So when you interact with the giants in the field, your perspectives of life, your perspective of your specialty, all these keeps changing. So it's always better you have a mentor, you interact with them, You ask for guidance and then try to implement what is practical in your life. Then I was honored to be awarded with a fellowship in Pierre Fauchard Academy. Then in 2016, cleared my international board exams, and you can see all the stalwarts. It was truly a blessed moment. Then I was honored with Susruta Award for Young Achiever Award and Best Young Researcher Award in the state. And going again with this journey, once all the UG was over, PG was over, then you need to advance your training. Just with the post-graduation, it is not enough. You need to sharpen your skills. Then I went for fellowship at Basel, at Switzerland. There it was a good exposure to the craniofacial aspect, 3D printing. And then at Taiwan, it is called the surgical heaven for any surgeons. You get to see wide variety of cases, be it surgical. It is truly a surgical heaven. For any surgeons or young surgeons, yes, and upbringing surgeons, it's always good to have exposure in other places and try to incorporate what is good in their practice and always keep on improving your surgical skills and knowledge. Nothing you have in life is because of luck or chance. It's all due to God's grace and favor. This was me presenting my experience at Taiwan. And these are the golden words I still remember Dr. Shankaraya saying. It's what we know that prevents us from learning more. You need to always keep on updating your knowledge, try to incorporate new skills in your life. And this was Dr. Shankaraya saying about me. With all the armamentariums you have, but I still keep my main focus in recreating smiles. Because I think I make more impact by bringing change into the life of these kids and their parents. So this is what my life is. Treating babies with clefts.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I'll make mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for me. I want the crown, I'm broken. Hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, try to see what we great. These ladies know that I see it. This is just the beginning. I'm closing in the night. There ain't no point in resisting. Leave it not like a dream. Bring it right, that's the thing.
So are you all guys with me? 74 of you, are you still awake?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Are you
Yes, sir. Definitely.
bored? Are you feeling bored?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, I don't see the energy level in that. No. Okay, I'm moving forward. So July is called the National Cleft and Craniofacial Awareness Month. And I think my talk happening on the 4th of July is a sign that maybe it's time to give an insight to the future cleft surgeons, or maybe the future surgeons, an overview on clefts and craniofacial anomalies. I'm not saying all of you are going to be cleft surgeons, but at least you can bring in change to these children in some way or the other. So repair of cleft lip and palate is the most important day in child's life. The repair is a gift to the infant, the family, and the surgeons. I'm sure anyone who has been associated either with these children in the family or in the friends and relative circle will agree to this. This quote is not put forward by me, but it was put forth by Mulliken. While the ancient ignorance based on religion, superstition regarding the etiology and of the congenital deformity no longer exists, the social stigma does. It has been the life work of many cleft surgeons to identify deficiencies in treatment and further to push the leading edges of new cleft lip treatment. Indeed, it's the responsibility of current and future cleft surgeons, maybe it's one among you, to persist and persevere to achieve excellent facial aesthetics, normal dental occlusion, and normal speech. And management of these deformities is a challenging and require multidisciplinary approach, which complex long-term treatment plan and rehabilitation program designed for individual cases. With this entire treatment plan is increase survival rate, improve the overall masticatory and other associated function, improve the normal facial aesthetics, better source, improve airway patency and achieve integrity of primary and secondary palate, and improve speech and hearing. And you might be wondering, especially if you don't understand what the cleft lip and palate deformity is, why all this matters? Because these children may be undernourished, so you need to provide with adequate nutrition, guide their parents, because parents are anxious as they may be seeing the babies with these deformities for the first time. So counseling the parents is another important aspect, and improving the facial aesthetics, because parents might be worried about the child appearance. They would like to hide the children from even the close relatives. And with regard to timely operation of the lip and palate is also essential. How many of you know the facial embryology? At least all of us must have studied embryology in first year anatomy. But I'm not going to the details of all this and bore you. As you know, the face or the primitive oral cavity or the stomatodium is surrounded by 5 facial processes about the rim of the primitive oral cavity. Superiorly, there are the frontonasal process. Laterally, there is the maxillary process. And inferiorly, there is paramandibular process. You have all heard of all these processes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay? Arushi, you are awake, I guess. Only you are replying.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, all these facial processes join in the midline and form our lip, nose, and any obstruction or any deformation in this union will result in formation of clefts. Hope you understood that aspect, right? It's just as simple. All these facial prominences join together to form our normal lip and palate and the nose. So any of this union doesn't happen at the right time. Different sort of clefts happen. So you can see if there's a unilateral microform cleft, a lateral cleft, nasal cleft, and cleft extending on the lateral corner of the lip, bilateral cleft lip, median cleft lip, cleft extending into the orbit, midline mandibular clefts, again lateral clefts. So various varieties of clefts you can see, be it in the lip or be it in the palate. And treatment requires a comprehensive cleft and craniofacial team intervention at various stages. And I will just give you a brief overview of what we are doing at our center. As I said, patients with cleft lip and palate require multiple interventions by various team members, by the myriad of specialists. The earliest intervention is the infant orthopedic treatment of the maxillary alveolus provided by the surgical repair of the lip. It is initiated within the first 2 months of life. It is called as nasoalveolar molding. The comprehensive phase of treatment is completed during the initial years because there is a lot of hyaluronic acid content in the baby which is transferred from the mother to the child. And it is easy to mold the cartilage and the nose within the first 2 weeks. If the child is after 2 months, all this molding of the lip and palate doesn't happen. So nasoalveolar molding doesn't work in these children. So initial 2 months, the orthodontics get to see the child, starts with the sort of feeding plate and put a lip tape, so that deformity of the lip comes closer. And we tend to operate the lip at 3 months to 6 months of age, and palate say 9 months to 1 year, 3 months. Because early you operate the palate, there is a reduction in growth of the maxilla. So you can't operate a palate at before 9 months. And lip, there is no timeline. You can operate at any age. But only issue is parents are more concerned with the deformity of the face. Even if you close the lip, they are happy. They are not bothered about the palate being left open, unless they are aware that speech and the feeding is a concern to parent. So always you counsel the parent, reduce the anxiety of the parents and the relatives, tell them the importance of adequate feeding and nourishment, treat the child as a normal infant, and console them once all the surgeries are done at various stages. It is just like any other normal child. Right? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I hear that. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
So the prenatal visit with the surgeon can also prove exceedingly valuable. This visit helps plant the initial seeds of trust and confidence that will prove essential, especially in early child health management. And during this initial visit, the physician may ask about the maternal health status, including the prenatal care, why this deformity happened. Sometimes it can be genetic. Sometimes the mother might be not taking adequate folic acid, or it might be due to some teratogens, or it might be some cancerous marriage. So various factors can result in creating these cleft deformities. You can't pinpoint a single reason for why this deformity happened. A discussion about the cleft etiology also takes place at this time. So once the parents understand that this is what their child is suffering from, and you counsel them what all interventions is needed, they are relaxed. And you can expect them to see a happy and relaxed face on their happy and relaxed parent right in front of you. And many expectant mothers feel guilt as they wonder, as if it is their mistake, that something may or may not, or something they might have done that contributed in this birth defect. And it is sometimes family members will be blaming the mother that all this is because of you. And many of the family tends to get separated because of this sort of childbirth. Overall, the goal of the prenatal visit should be to answer questions and provide information and material that allow the mother and her close associate to prepare physically and emotionally for infant's arrival. Women are encouraged to deliver in whatever settings their obstetrician feels and most appropriate to make contact with the cleft team as soon as the child is born. So I think I have bored you with an overview of what the cleft deformities is, what all interventions is being done from birth to 1 year. I'll take a few more minutes about what is done after 1 year, that is after the palate child. Next is coming to intensive speech therapy. Once the palate is repaired, it's all well. Next, the child requires intensive speech therapy, because just by closing the palate is not going to work. You need intensive speech therapy up till 5 to 6 years so that child speech gets back to normal. And then sometimes the nose might be deformed, and you do a preschool rhinoplasty at 5.5, 6 years, and then alveolar bone grafting. That is because, as I showed you, there is a cleft deformity. The bone is not there in that alveolus, and so the teeth doesn't erupt into that socket. So you need to do bone grafting when the tooth erupts into that socket. Say it might be a lateral or a canine. So bone grafting is usually done at 8 to 12 years, depending on the eruption time of the concerned tooth. And once bone grafting is done, you wait till 13 years for orthodontic intervention and maybe orthognathic surgery once the growth is complete. So you can see at various stages, various interventions are required for a child born with cleft lip and palate deformities. So I will give you a brief overview of the clinical work that I am doing here. Here you can see a baby born with unilateral cleft lip. These are simply life-changing works, and the smile brought on them is priceless. Here you can see the operated lip. You can see the transformation happening at various stages. Another child previously was the right-sided cleft. Here is a left-sided cleft, once pre-op, immediate post-op. Here you can see another child with a unilateral cleft. This is after the repair, after the suture removal. See the smile, how cute these children are. Another child with complete unilateral cleft lip and palate. This immediate post-op. This is after 2 years of post-op. You can see the faint scar on this child, but these works keep these children blend with the common society. At least that is what is needed from our side. They should not be left out from the mainstream society. Another child, post-lip repair. You can see various types of cleft. No two clefts are the same. Another cleft. This is a complete unilateral lip and palate child. This is 2 years post-op. You can see the amazing transformation that is happening in these children's life. Another unilateral cleft child. You can see the recreated nose as well as the lip. You can see the transformation. This is immediate lip post-op. This is 1 year post-op. This 2 year post-op. Another child, unilateral complete lip and palate. See the level of deformity that is going right into the alveolus. This is immediate post-op. See the recreation of the nasal symmetry as well as the lip. Another cleft child, unilateral complete lip. See the deformity. The tooth has been erupted into the socket. And this is immediate post-op. Another child with left-sided cleft. This after the lip repair, 2 years post-op. Another unilateral complete lip. See the deformity of the nose as well as the lip. You can appreciate it's a complete unilateral lip and palate child. See the nose deviated to the right side, flattened ala, short lip, alveolar disparity. This is immediate post-op. Nose is recreated, lip symmetry is made. Immediate post-op. Another child, see the tooth is erupted into the socket, complete unilateral lip deformity. You want all these children to wake up and smile at you.
Wake up and smile, 'cause it's
See
been
the
a
deformity on the
while.
alveolus,
It's been like a whole day since I
the
saw
flaring of the
you
nose,
hold me.
deviated columella,
Child away,
and see how the
strong in the face.
reconstruction is done.
Lord, you are the refuge that I can't wait to get to, 'cause I can't let a day go. Can't let a day go.
So once you see another child, here you notice the sutures are any difference in the suture color or anything that is no different in this children compared to the previous photos that I showed. The 66 who are still with me, Can you answer? Here you can notice that the suture is not in black color, it is white. Because we have put an absorbable suture, it is called Vicryl. Because of corona, we had to send them home, so we put it on absorbable sutures. Hope you all understood that.
Yes, sir.
Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so what do you think? Is this a normal lip or a cleft child? And which side is the cleft?
Oh, it's a cleft child.
Right or left? Or it's a normal child?
Normal.
Which
Right.
side?
Left.
Right, left, or it's a normal child?
Left.
Left.
The left. Left.
Okay.
Left.
Good. So I think I need to improve a lot. Syndrome cleft. This is post-op. But right side is created by the God. Left side is made by me. So I need to improve a lot to match God's creation. Another 3-year post-op. Brothers in arms. Identify the cleft QT. Who is the cleft child? The elder brother or the younger one?
Younger one.
The younger one.
Younger one.
sir.
Younger.
I think this time I have slightly improved. It's the older child that is with the cleft. Okay. Moving on. This, you can see, this is like a sort of tissue attached on this side. But this is a complete unilateral cleft because this tissue attachment is called the Seminard span. And this is immediate, 4-month post-op. There's another child with a partial cleft lip. This 5-month post-op. Hope I am improving with each case. Scars have improved. This is 1 year, 6-month post-op of another cleft lip child. This is another child, 6-month post-op. Another child, 2-year post-op. See the transformation that we can make in the life of these children. I think I am boring you with too many videos, so I'll skip this video if you want. Let me see. Anyway, it's just a transformation that we see the deformity that is happening and how much transformation we can make. And that is with regard to cleft lips. Now coming to the palate. Just like what I said, it is a defect in the lip, there is a defect in the palate, which we call as a cleft palate. And this can come in various forms. Here you can see this is complete cleft lip and palate. You can see the asymmetric soft palate. And this is what we call as a submucous palate because there is a tissue attached here. But typically these children will have difficulty in providing normal speech. So this is another type of cleft called submucous cleft. This is moderately wide cleft. You can see this slightly more wider than the previous photo I showed. This is a narrower cleft. This is partial cleft of secondary palate. So there is no two clefts the same, be it lip, be it palate, be it other varieties of cleft. So it's always a challenge, and you can't make any errors because you are playing with the future of these children. This is after the palate repair. The palate repair is called palatoplasty, and we have various palatoplasty techniques. This is a very wide cleft palate, and this is immediate post-op. And another wide cleft. There is another technique. Previously, what you show here, you can see it is a straight line closure of the palate, and here it's slightly different. It's called furlough double opposing palatoplasty. Don't bother about all these terms. Just that there are various techniques for lips. There are various techniques of palate closure. Another modified furloughplasty. And this is another straight line closure. This is called Pinto model technique of palate repair. So there is something beautiful about all these scars, whatever be the nature. A scar means hurt is over, wound is closed. and heat and done with. And various other techniques of palate repair. This is moderately wide cleft. And there is no room for errors. Once you make a mistake or a fistula, you are ruining the child's future. Or once a lip repair is not done, though there are always room for improvement, but you're playing with the child's future. So I think we all should do what is best for these children, the best possible way, and there is no room for errors. I'll show you a brief video of what palate repair looks like. This is a complete cleft of complete lip and palate cleft. The padding incision is done. I don't want to go into the details of what the technique is. All the tissues are there. We are just approximating because there is why the speech is poor is because the muscle alignment, various muscles are there in the soft palate. Those muscles are attached to the border of the cleft, along the margins of the cleft and towards the border of the hard palate. So we need to retroposition all these muscles. We'll show you what retropositioning of these muscles look like. Here you can see all these muscles were attached to the border of the hard palate along the margins of the cleft. We have taken all these muscles way behind. That's how our muscle alignment normally looks. Just the posterior 1/3 of the soft palate. So we retroposition all these muscles and we are hoping we can make the child speak normal, at least intelligible speech. This is after the final closure. So this is how the palatoplasty techniques work. And here you can see a 3-year post-op palate repair child speaking. This is in Malayalam. She is singing one Malayalam nursery rhyme. This was how she was pre-op. See the white cleft. So it's almost intelligible speech, and the child is not left out of the mainstream society because of her poor speech. So that's our main goal. They should live a normal life, and these deformities should not prevent them from leading a normal life. Don't you all agree? Don't you all agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is another lip and palate child, the same child with lip and palate deformity operated. See the transformation. And because of your smile, you make life more beautiful. This was a very cute bilateral cleft lip child. All these children are so cute and so friendly. You get to it. We see them for 1 week and you tend to get attached to them. And at least with the hope that we made an impact in their life and we made them look normal, it's so pleasing. And this was one of the child which I operated 2 days back. And in this, every detail counts. And let that beauty of what you love be what you do.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act. Head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong. Always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along.
You see the transformation. You think it is good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are all any specialty, especially dentistry. You're transforming the smiles. we so whatever specialty you choose, try to make a beautiful art of it, as you all are artists. Sorry. This was the doctor's day wishes from one of the parents' child. It's in Malayalam. Smiles and more transformation in such cleft deformity children. It's so heart touching when you receive such pleasing messages. And this was 5-6 years back when I was the editorial board of one of special issues in clinical concept of cleft deformities. So making one person smile can change the world. May not be the whole world, but their world. So that's with regard to clefts. Now I will show you a few clinical cases so that just that it's not clefts that I'm going imparting wisdom into. What do you see in this OPG? Do you see this is a normal OPG? Anything special in this? Feel free to speak up. There is no just one-on-one conversation. There is no getting wrong in this. Just tell me what you feel. Any issue in this OPG?
So supernumerary.
Other than supernumerary?
Mixed dentition.
Yeah, mixed dentition.
There are unerupted teeth plus rotation of the canine,
Yeah.
maxillary canine.
Good. So,
Crowding of teeth.
yeah, crowding. Because all this crowding, all this supernumerary, mixed dentition is all part of mixed dentition phase. But anything you see here, abnormal?
Sir,
anything
maxillary central
this
incisors are
region?
not.
The median
bone resorption.
It's a cleft, right?
Yeah, obviously. This is a cleft children. There is a lack of bone in this region. So, as I said, we tend to do alveolar bone grafting. This intro picture, you can just supposed to erupt in this region. Maybe canine or the lateral. We bone graft just before the eruption of these two. Understood?
yes.
What all you said is true, but this is what I was looking for. And we pack it with bones from the iliac crest. This is how we pack. And this is post-op OPG. You can see the bone formation in this region. And the canine is waiting to erupt. See? Are you able to appreciate it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. And this is post-op CT scan. This is, you can see the bone in this region. Else it would have been a cleft segment. Now it is a one uniform maxillary jaw. So people who are interested in reading more about may go through this article published by myself and my head of the department here. Another case scenario. What do you think about this? What do you see on the cheek?
So there's a tumor-like exophytic growth.
Yeah, wonderful. And here in the radiograph CT scan, you can see the bony expansion. Here also in the axial view, you can see the changes. Coronal segment also, you can see the changes. It is a cyst, and it is not often you see this sort of cyst. And this is after the cyst excision, and this is immediate post-op. And this is what we call as an aneurysmal bone cyst. This was published during my post-graduation days. And this is one of the 5th case in journals. Guess destiny is always as its final say, just as in life. You might be rejected by various friends, but ultimately one door will open. Maybe that will take you to greater heights than the earlier closed doors. Another case. What do you think about this? You can see a soft tissue swelling on the mucosa, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Here you can see a radiolucency in the periapical region, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And OPG showing the periapical radiolucency in the attached to the upper front teeth, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So provisional diagnosis can be any routine cyst. So we took a biopsy. You can saw a cyst-like fluid, and you can after the cyst enucleation, and the report came as nasal mucosal cyst, and this is 19th reported case in the world. Not often you come across a nasal mucosal cyst. So it's all these are. There is no point me telling about a dentigerous cyst or an OKC cyst. Most of you may not be aware of a nasal mucosal cyst, right? Or an unusual bone cyst. So this is just to give you an overview of different aspects of maxillofacial surgery. Another thing, what do you see on this slide? Something here?
So swelling and blackening.
Inflammation.
Yeah, not inflammation. It's more related to the swelling. There is some sort of bony swelling in this region, right? Here you can see in the OPG as well some sort of issue between these roots of two canine and laterals. Yeah. So here you can see the defect once you raise the flap, the histopath. This came out as dentigenogenic cosal tumor. This presented as an asymptomatic gingival swelling in the maxillary region. So any swelling, you need to do all the investigations. It might not be any normal swelling. So have a provisional diagnosis, do all the investigations, and work up a treatment plan, and proceed in executing it and prepare for the unknown. Another case, lingual thyroid. Terminologies, but just keep in mind, because if you take a maxillofacial surgery, you might come across in future all these terms. You can see it's an aberrant thyroid tissue attached to the lingual aspect of the tongue. Access osteotomy was done. The mandible was split and opened. Histology. What do you see in this slide? What do you see here?
Swelling in the orbital.
Some sort of swelling.
Infraorbital region.
Yeah, some sort of swelling in infraorbital region. You can see a tumor sort of lesion just below the eye, which is creating the proptosis. So an access osteotomy was done on the orbital rim. The bony fragment was excised, and which will be later refixed. The specimen was excised and bony fragment was refixed after the closure. Histology. People who are interested may go through all these published articles. Even if you're undergraduate, there is no stopping you from publishing articles, because I think many of you will be having more publications in your undergraduate days itself. It's always good to interact with your staff members, faculties. Try and get published. So you will learn the subject, you will learn about that particular case, and you will read about the different aspect of not only that case or different case, you will be reading more advanced about surgery and not only surgery, be it any specialty. Always read the latest journals, get updated, learn new skills. Okay. So this is another case. My PG thesis was in arthrocentesis. This was me presenting at the international conference in Hong Kong, my research work. This was a paper published on arthrocentesis. One in the International Journal of Maxillofacial Surgery. One was a technical note, which was quite innovative. I'm not sure whether you are aware of what arthrocentesis is. This is a lavage of the superior joint. you have TMJ in temporomandibular joint, you have a superior compartment and inferior compartment. Sometimes patient will have pain in the TM joint and difficulty in opening mouth. So we try to remove the inflammatory mediators in the superior compartment by procedure called arthrocentesis. Here you can see the needle is placed in situ, and you can see the fluid coming out of the needle. I'll show you a brief video of the same. Here you can see the saline is injected to the other needle. The needle is placed in the superior compartment. You can see the lavage fluid coming out through the other segment. Right? You can see the immediate post-op, how much mouth opening you can create. This patient didn't have any mouth opening pre-op. Patient had severe pain in opening mouth. Once after the procedure is done, immediate mouth opening is made. Another interesting case, what do you see? Is this a normal tongue?
No, sir.
You can see 5 lobes.
Yes.
So we termed it as pentaptic tongue. And the child has a polydactyly extra digits on the thumb, and we excised and made it as normal, excised the extra digits, and we have published it as pentaptic tongue. This is very rare entity. So interested people can go through all this published literature. What is time? I'm just running through the various cases. This is what you call as, what you see here. Some sort of radiopacity, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Radio opacity.
And because of the radiopacity, there is impacted tooth, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
these sort of lesions are called as odontomes. They will look like, sometimes look like teeth. They can present at anterior maxilla, posterior. This is various spectrums. At the lower part of the mandible here, you can see in the radiograph another tooth-like lesions. So this was my first publication in postgraduate. First publication in my life in first year MDS. So I always say, document your cases, try to get it published, even if it is not for publication, at least for records, keep it. Then there is wide spectrum of implantology, and not going into the details of implants. I will say some take-home message with regard to clinical aspect with just 2 simple cases. One is with impaction. This person came to me. She went to many various other clinics. This was during COVID times. Nobody was willing to see her because she's having fever, she's having pain in the throat. This was all during the first lockdown. So all was sending her away. She went and underwent the RT-PCR, which came negative. Then she even went to various clinics, but none checked the oral cavity. Then she came to me accidentally, and there was a pericoronitis lesion. And I removed the impacted tooth. Her symptoms relieved. She was back to normal life within 1 week. So imagine the distress the patient undergoes when you don't diagnose a case. So diagnosis is key in any treatment plan. You can think about all the big things, but you can't miss out on any simple diagnosis. Another case. From OPG, it is clear that there is a decay in 3/8. But she came with pain in the left lower anterior region and radiating towards the posterior. So what do you think this patient is suffering from? Is it because of impacted tooth? Or it could be something else?
Trauma from occlusion.
How many of you say it is because of impacted tooth? Come on, fast, tell me. Just say it is because of impacted tooth, or yes or no?
No, sir.
Good. So it is not just, so you need to diagnose the case because the patient had history of orthodontic treatment and there is trauma from occlusion. The patient is having pain, especially with related to 3/3. So there is no point me going ahead and extracting 3A. The patient's patient doesn't get any relief from my extraction of 3A, right? So diagnosis is key. The correct diagnosis is 3/4 the remedy. Listen to your patient. He or she is telling you the diagnosis. And the art of clinical diagnosis lies in the ability to ask the right questions. Start from the very first session, very first clinical session. Try to take up as many case histories possible, improve upon our case history skills. Try to take up as many information from the patients and come to the correct diagnosis. As any doctor can tell you, the most crucial step toward healing is having the right diagnosis. You might be a big surgeon, you might be a big clinician. If you get the wrong diagnosis and give the wrong treatment plan, there is no use of you calling the great doctor. So after all this, I went on to take up the Royal College of Surgeons exams. Also, all these are just a milestone. It tells you how far you have come. You need to keep learning, keep accomplishing, keep venturing on through your journey. It's just for fun part. A successful surgeon should be a man who, when asked to name the 3 best surgeons in the world, would have difficulty in deciding the other 2. I'm not yet saying I am the best, but at least you should be confident and you should live up to it. And apart from the academics, I am into other extracurricular activities, be it swimming, athletics, sports, mostly into sports, but currently not much active, but still. And so these are the take-home message with the clinical aspect, be it the diagnosis, documentation, publication, aspiration to do great works. All these are from the clinical aspect. And now something related to life. The luck is when an opportunity comes along and you are prepared for it. Unless you are prepared for it, there is no point, you might miss the bus. And real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. You might claim that you know everything. That's not the way. You need to keep learning. Get acquainted with others in the specialty who are doing better works and try to improve your skills and knowledge. Every time a decision is made, always a path emerges. Plans are great, but missions are better. Missions survive and plans fail, and plans almost fail. So if it is doing great cosmetic work, you take up that as a mission. Be it clefts, take up that as a mission. Be it implant, be it prosthodontics, be it orthodontics, take it up as mission and try it one more time. You might be having several failures. I didn't clear my Royal College Surgeons exam the first attempt. Though I cleared my international boards in first because that was immediate post graduation. Years down the lane, you are very rarely, especially me not being in academics, and I very rarely get to interact with undergraduate or postgraduate because I am in medical college. So you need to always keep reading, get failures should not stop you. Keep going, keep attempting once again. The doors are bound to open for you. What others think about is not important. What you think about yourself means everything. Push yourself, because no one is stronger the why, the easier the how becomes. You must tell yourself, no matter how and what you're doing in life, just you're here to be awesome, and you should always keep learning. And excuses don't get you results. So when you look back and see everything that has happened in your life and what you were and what you have achieved, not that I have achieved big things, but when I look back and retrospect, you begin to understand, propose at some point happens when it should. Imagination is everything. It is a preliminary vision of what will happen in your life. greatest glory is not to never fail, but always rise. So, always get acquainted with faculties willing to help you, be it any specialty. Pursue the area of interest. Document your cases systematically. Take good case history. Try to do good care for your patients. Ultimate goal, the patient should be satisfied with the treatment. You might be having so many degrees. You might be claiming you are the big shot in there. If you don't provide good care for a patient, then all your so-called degrees are meaningless. So try to be affectionate with your patient. Try to give them good treatment care and receive their, create smiles on their face. Thank you.
Thank
Hope I
you.
didn't bore you all.
No, sir. It was a really interesting presentation, sir.
No, sir.
That's nice to hear.
Yes,
Sir,
sir. It was very amazing.
Yeah, so how many of you are more interested in OMFS now than from the initial survey? Hello?
Yes, sir. I'm interested, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I'm
Yes, sir.
Like has now shifted to OMFS? So you don't need to be inspired by OMFS. You just need to be inspired by your goal and work for it. So any questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any questions you have? Any questions? Just feel free.
sir, I wanted to ask that in every case photograph we saw, there was
Yeah.
a pipe-like pipe-like was going inside the infant's mouth while you were doing surgery.
Yeah.
So what is that, sir?
That is because we are operating the child under general anesthesia, not under local anesthesia. We need to intubate the child. This is what you're saying, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. This tube, no? Right?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yeah. Because we are intubating the child and we are operating under GA. So that's why every child in raw picture will have a tube in their mouth. Hope that is clear.
Yes, sir. So we have a few questions in the chat. Sakshi is asking, how do you prevent scarring post-surgery?
That's a good question. Just like after any wound, you never know how the scarring is going to be. It can vary with individual, right? You might fall down, you might get a bad scar. Other person fall down, the scar may not be that bad. It's just like in surgery also. But some things are in surgeon's hands, some things are not. Just like tissue handling, gentle tissue handling, gentle suturing, post-op care with gels and creams. All these, or if the scar is more thick, you can inject steroids. So all these post-op measures are there. But these are those things which in your hand. But just like I said, there are many things not in your hand. So that's the answer to that.
Sir, Nabila is asking any suggestions of topic for research in OMFS?
That's a good question. Just be open, just to have an open mind during your OMFS posting. You will get to see many cases. Just like I said, you don't need to be having the goal of research in OMFS. Take each case, take good case history, document well, take good photographs, and try present yourself like how you are going to present in a journal, how you are going to present in a conference. So even it might be a small swelling, you should know the differential diagnosis of what the swelling, what all possible swelling it could be, and then narrow it down. And if you're doing the procedure, have a good plan how you're going to approach that case. And then once the histopathology comes, you will know whether your diagnosis is as same as the outcome. Okay. So research there are plenty, but even other than research, just take each case and try to improve your presenting skills.
Sir, Faizan is asking, how does a patient eat post-surgery? Is he or she just kept on a liquid diet?
Yeah, good question, Faizan. We are giving them only with milk milk and water for initial 2 weeks. The anesthetic effects tend to worn off within immediate post-op. For 4 hours, the child is not given anything except 2 hours nil oral. That is, nothing is given. After that, we start off with fluids. For initial 2 weeks, it will be only with lip. I mean, even if it is lip or palate child, only milk and water. After 2 weeks, we tend to give it semi-solid, no hard and warm foods. And after 3 months, the child can have everything. Hope it's clear.
Sir, Hershey is asking how cleft surgery can affect the development of teeth.
Yeah, good question. Here you can see the deformity in the arches. So that itself has a role. And now on top of that, there is a defect in the alveolus. So the teeth doesn't erupt into those segments. Wherever there is bone, the tooth will erupt. So when you have a defect in the bone, the tooth won't erupt. The tooth won't erupt in mid-air. That's why we are doing bone grafting. And with regard to surgery, you're creating more scar tissue. So that will also affect the growth. So all these tend to play in the growth of the jaws as well as eruption of the teeth. That's why the child will have issues with the occlusions. There is malocclusion. That's where the orthodontists come into picture.
Sir, Komal is asking that how many cleft lip and palate cases do you get on a regular basis?
Okay. Ours is a department specially for cleft and craniofacial anomalies. So this is our referred center and Smile Train Center, and we are one of the pioneers centers in India. It was started around 50 years back by Dr. Damwala. So we tend to get around, say, 40 to 50 new cases in a year, and roughly we tend to operate 40 to 60 cases, all sort of cleft deformities in a month.
Sir, Tejasvi is asking, how do you deal with the social stigma associated with the cleft or lip palate? As you said that in some cases you see that the mother of child is blamed for the same. So how do you deal with
That's
that?
why you need to be compassionate. You need to counsel the parents, make them understand this child is going to be just like any other normal child. They will be anxious. They will be crying, sometimes crying in front of you. But you need to listen to them patiently, make them understand such and such things need to be done at different stages in life, and your child will be just like any other child. Because some cleft children even even have taken part in singing competition, take up Gita competition. So they are just like any other normal child.
Sir, Hershey is asking, does it affect the overall health of the child also? If the child is born with cleft or lip?
Unless if they are not looked after well, if you're not proper nutrition is given, then they don't have any other comorbidities like syndromic child or any preterm or any other prenate, any other illness, systemic illness. This will be just like any other child once the normal nutrition plan is taken care by the parents.
Sir, Dia is asking what is the commonest post operative complication in palatoplasty and how do you handle it?
Dia, tell me what could be the most common complication?
So there can be wound infection, sir,
True. Okay.
and it can lead to deformity in nasal deformity, or it can even spread it to orbital sometimes, sir.
The wound adhesions can lead to fistulas. The fistula, there can be breakdown in the palate. So,
Yes, sir.
touch wood. So far, I presented in my 200 odd case, 220 odd case in Delhi National Cleft Conference. The fistula rates are very minimal. You are, as I said, there is no room for errors because you are leading, you're playing with a child's future. So you should not make any errors.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Sutham is asking why not give absorbable sutures in all the babies?
Absorbable sutures tend to fall off after a long time. So if you are doing removal sutures, we tend to remove after 7th day and the child is left home. So absorbable sutures you can give, but it is that is given only in very rare circumstances. Just I told in COVID times because they had to send off the patient quite early. So that was the reason why we gave an absorbable suture. But there are some centers, some surgeons who are giving absorbable sutures because they tend to leave the children 2 days post-op. We tend to keep the children till 7 days after, and we remove the suture, say 5th or say 7th day, and then leave the children home.
Sir, Priyanka is asking what all
Hope that's
exams.
clear.
Yes, sir. What all exams did you have to, I think, give to learn? I think she's asking that when you went to Singapore and Taiwan, so what all exams did you have to give for that?
You don't have to give any exams. It's a fellowship program. You can go once you have the degrees. I mean, the maxillofacial degree. You can take up any fellowship programs.
So Sakshi is asking what is the one skill that you think is very important for a surgeon to have or develop?
You should be knowing when not to operate.
I think that's the one thing, yes, sir. Very
When not to
important.
operate.
Hmm.
The day you learn when not to operate, you are safe. You might be adventurous, you might be ambitious, you may be wanting to operate on everything, but ultimately your goal should be to do good to the patient, not to be daring, adventurous, or whatever. It's all good to have all those qualities, but it's the day you learn when not to operate, or this is the case you should not be operating. That is the most important thing.
Sir, I'll ask you the last question for today's session. That if not
Yeah.
a cleft and palate surgeon, what else do you think would you have been if not a dentist?
That's a very good question. I think during my talk I did say my interest was in orthodontics or maxillofacial surgery, and maxillofacial surgery was a destiny, and being able to study in a good institute guided by good mentors was a blessing. It really pushed you, and after the maxillofacial program, again the dilemma happened. As what next? Because I had a very less opportunity to clefts during till then, and you know how much opportunity you'll have in UG days. Even very few PGs get to see clefts cases. So I was here in Jubilee for almost a year as an observer. Then opportunity presented to me. Then that's when I wholeheartedly took it up. So I consider it as a divine mission. Maybe destiny brought me into taking up with this role. So if not a cleft surgeon, maybe a maxillofacial surgeon in being attached to some college or being attached to some hospital. And if not maxillofacial, I don't know. That's what I said. You need to have a aim. You need to work on it. If one door opens, you need to keep knocking at the other doors. The doors will keep opening up if you keep knocking. And I said, I didn't clear my exams for the Royal College in the first attempt. I gave it again. And then slowly other doors opened. So just like I said, you need to keep working on your goals, attached to a mission, and then slowly things will start falling into place. And down the lane, when you look back, you will say, all the doors that didn't open was a blessing, and everything will be all okay in the end.
So thank you so much. We have learned so much from you today. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all. At least 50 people are still there. And I'm
Yes,
happy
sir.
that at least 50 stayed back to listen till the end. Though we were started off, I think, 70 odd. It's good. Thank you all for patiently waiting till the end.
Thank you so
It was
much.
good
sir.
interacting with you all. Feel free to contact me on any social media platform. Be in touch. Ask me any queries at any time. See you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Take care and have a great day ahead, sir.
You too all. Take care. See
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye all.